there's people protesting. Maybe, and sometimes, like friends and family will look at you a little differently too. Even they know it's like a justifiable shoot. Sometimes, they kind of might, in the back of their heads, they're like, wow, this guy actually did this. I mean, did you have any of that? Because I've heard of that.
You know, that's a good question. I can't remember. I feel like people in my family, they obviously knew,
Yeah.
but nobody brought it up.
Mm,
It was almost like it was almost like nobody brought it up to me, or nobody really said anything. So I can't really remember how people reacted. I just remember people kind of were real quiet about it, just
sure.
pretended like nothing happened.
Yes. That they don't know what to say because
Right.
it's a highly unusual thing for somebody to go through. And, the same thing with like somebody that's coming back from war or whatever, it's like you don't want to talk about that.
Right.
It's kind of taboo more than anything else.
Exactly. That's one of the words. That's the word I was looking for. It was kind of, they almost kept quiet, like it was taboo. Like, don't talk about it. Maybe if we don't talk about it, it'll go away, or
Yeah,
people will forget about it, kind of thing.
right. So you're going through these headaches, you're self-medicating with alcohol. 5 months goes by and you're back. Did they just put you right back on the street? Same squad car, same assignment?
Yeah, same back at the same division, Southern Division. Hit the streets 5 months later, and yeah, I remember them asking me. The captain asked me, "Hey, you ready to go back out to the field?" I said, "Yeah, I'm ready. I've been ready." But again, the damage was already done.
Yeah. Now, were you still on probation?
I would have had to been still on probation. Yeah,
Wow. So
I would have still had to be on
that's even
probation.
double stress for you because when a copper is on probation, it's a lot easier for the department to let you go.
Yeah, that's true.
That would be even more stress.
And I don't know if I even thought about that at the time. I just remember thinking, I'm not going to say shit about what I'm feeling because
Right.
nobody's talking about it.
Mm.
Um, and I didn't want to bring attention to myself. I didn't want to bring that negative attention to
Sure.
myself. Right.
So the two other guys that you were with that also fired their weapons that went through the same thing, did you kind of form a bond or what did that look like?
Yeah, I remember talking to them while we were, in the back as acting, given an acting detective position, and we were sitting at the desk, and we would do breakfast, and we would talk. And one of the things that we talked about was, when is the department going to release our body worn camera footage?
Ah,
Because we knew that these marches were going on, like every weekend they were kind of going on, and they would march from the location of the OIS down to our Southern Division.
mm,
And we were just like, when are they going to release the body worn camera footage? Like, we know what we did was the right thing.
right.
Where are they at? Where are they at? Um, yeah, and I still talk to them to this day. That's like a bond that
Yeah.
um, it's it it's probably more of a bond than the partner that you're working with every single day. I mean, it's a unique situation that only you guys know what happened. Even the people that were around that didn't shoot, they wouldn't understand what we went through.
Correct. And
You know,
I've seen it both ways where officers that were involved in, lethal force situations or shooting their guns, in a super stressful instance, and also coppers who have been shot
Mhm.
or, like seriously injured. That's a club that's very exclusive and, that you form bonds with that as well. And, I can't put myself in your shoes because I was never shot.
Right.
So that is, but did any of those people, like the two other guys, say anything about like headaches or drinking too much or anything like that?
No, no, not to give too much information, but
Yeah.
I've talked to one that experienced some issues afterwards.
Yeah.
Um, and so, oops, sorry about that. I've talked to people who have, or I talked to him who had shared his experience afterwards, as far as like, hey, I've been kind of feeling like this, and but it was after the fact.
Okay, gotcha. Now you're back on the street, you're back doing the job. How soon before your second officer involved shooting occurred?
Yeah, so it was 11 months later.
God, not even a year. Come on.
Not even a year.
It's
Yeah.
like, come on, God, what are you doing to me here? That's what I'd be saying. So why don't we walk through, give us a synopsis of the second one.
Yeah. So by the second one, April 3rd of 2019. By this time, life at home is kind of, I'm avoiding home.
Oh,
Um, my my goal every single day was to because home was chaotic. Home was not a peaceful place for my brain. Like it wasn't a place where I could rest. I had two young boys running around everywhere, and boys are wild,
oh,
right?
yes,
They're
they
not
are. Yep.
they're not like little girls where they just play with their
Right.
dolls. They're like
Right.
grabbing their cars and trying to like break them. so so life at home was not a relaxing or comfortable place for me anymore. So my goal every day was to leave the house before everybody woke up and to get home when everybody was asleep.
Okay.
So I'm working more and more overtime at this point.
Mm.
April 3rd of 2019 comes around. I'm working day shift. My partner and I are we're on a traffic stop on the north side of our division. We're searching the vehicle of a couple of it was a car with four guys inside. I'm searching the vehicle, and as I'm searching the vehicle, a radio call comes out that on the south side of our division, so down in San Isidro, a there was one caller reporting an active shooter at the trailer park, and that it was a excuse me, it was a oh excuse me, sorry about that, my
Don't
throat
worry
got
about
dry. There was a Hispanic male armed with an AK-47 at the trailer park, and he was actively shooting.
it.
So this trailer park was directly across the street from Willow Elementary School.
Oh, shit.
So
Oh, my God.
I remember searching the vehicle, and I stick my head out the car and I look at my partner who's standing with all the other four guys that were sitting on the curb. And I looked at my partner and I said, one caller reporting an active shooter across the street from an elementary school.
Yeah, that's
This is a bogus call.
right.
Um, the school would go on lockdown. They have a protocol on how they get a hold of our people would be calling 911. It'd be more than just one caller. And down in San Isidro, we get bogus calls all the time.
Sure.
People are high and they call 911. People are chasing me with a machete. Somebody's chasing me with a gun.
Right.
And we all get there and it's a big nothing. This happens multiple times a week, at least when I was there. So my partner said, I said, what do you want to do? He goes, you want to wait for a second call? I said, yeah, let's wait for a second call. So I stick my head back into the car, start searching, and within a matter of seconds, dispatch gets back on the air. All units be advised. We have multiple callers reporting an active
That's
shooter at the
real
San
then. Yeah.
Francisco trailer park. And this time she updated it, or she said Hispanic male is armed with an AK-47.
Oh,
He's actively shooting and
oh,
hiding behind vehicles.
oh my God.
So my adrenaline starts going. We jump in the car. We head down south. Lights and sirens. We're rolling over there. Able, our air support unit, was overhead. They spotted the suspect on the south end of the trailer park. He wasn't armed with a weapon at the time.
Mm.
And I remember as I'm driving to the trailer park, I remember putting in my mind, this is going to be fucked up right now. Because when I get there,
Oh,
there's going to be kids and people laid out.
oh yeah.
My partner and I, we had been through that trailer park multiple times in the past, and there's always kids out there.
Sure.
There's teenagers, there's kids, they're riding with chalk on the asphalt.
Yeah.
Playing soccer. Super poor Hispanic community.
Okay.
The trailer park was. So when I arrived on scene, that's what I'm expecting. I remember thinking, don't look at the ground. Contact the suspect. Don't stop for any victims.
Right.
Let's contact the suspect first. So we get there. I'm putting on my hard plates because the suspect's armed with an AK-47. So I'm
Yeah.
going to put on my hard plates. and I can't snap the right side of the buckles are not snapping. It's not the it's not long enough.
Okay.
So I'm trying to figure out why the hell my hard plates are not fitting on me, which I know that they do. Abel gets back on the air and says, "All units be advised. The suspect just picked up the AK-47. He's
Oh.
walking northbound through the trailer park."
Oh.
Northbound was where we were at.
Oh boy.
So I grab my AR, I charge it. My partner and I, we walk into the trailer park with two other officers. We split up into two teams of two. My partner goes one way, I go left with another officer. As I'm snaking in between this trailer and car, I spot the suspect on the west end of the trailer park, walking directly towards me.
Oh.
He's about 100 yards away. He has the AK-47 down to his side, and he's like kind of marching with it. He's like swinging it up, swinging it down, looking directly at me. He brings the AR or the AK-47 up and boom, fires off a round.
Holy shit.
Uh, the snap in the air, the snap that was in my ear, it was like the loudest freaking crack I have ever
Sure.
heard. It was a distinct crack in the air. And I hit the deck and I come back up to take the shot. Suspect runs right back into the trailer park. So the hunt now is on. Now
Oh.
my the partner and I that I was with, we walk back into the trailer park. I turn onto this road. I'm expecting that suspect to be 100 yards away or 80 yards away. We ended up contacting him. He was about 80 yards away from us. He's in the middle of the road. I'm in the middle of the road. He's looking right at me. I'm looking right at him. He's still marching with that AK-47. I give him commands to drop the gun. And as I raise my AR up, I look through my red dot and he is right in front of my face. He is like 10, 15 yards. He's right in
Holy
front of my
cow.
face. I give him commands to drop the gun. He doesn't drop it. I fire 4 rounds. Um, one strikes him in the thigh, one strikes him in the chest, the other hits the back of his head. The fourth round, I end up tossing. Suspect drops to the ground. Well, when I say that he was 15 yards away, that's what I saw at the moment. He ended up being 60 yards.
But
The
that's what your
shot,
brain was telling you.
my brain, I didn't realize it until afterwards when we
Yeah.
came back to do a walkthrough of the scene. I was like, why is that body so far? And my rounds, my brass is over here. I didn't realize how far that shot was.
When you were shooting, were you on your stomach or were you standing?
I was standing, so the suspect was walking towards me. I'm walking towards him. I'm giving him commands. So I was shooting on the move.
That's not for 60 yards or 80 yards or 60.
60. It was a
So
60 yard shot.
60 yards moving with an M4 or or an AR-15 is not an easy shot to take at all. To accurately deliver rounds like that. That's no easy chore.
Yeah, and well, at the time it was very easy because in my mind I was like,
Yeah.
well, he's right in front of my face. The How large he looked. When I remember
Oh,
when I brought that AR up and I was looking through the red dot, in my mind I was like, well, I'm not going to miss. There's no way. I mean, he is right in front of my face. I can't miss him. And again, time distortion.
yep.
Things slowed down, speed up, magnified. I mean, he was magnified, and that was the second officer involved shooting that I was involved in.
Now, did your partner have a long gun as well?
He did. And so the interesting thing about that is he never shot.
Okay.
And we do critical incident debriefs again with the
Yeah.
psychologist, everybody, all the main players, they come, to this debrief and we all share, what we saw, why we
Right.
did what we did and all that. Well, it was very interesting because he was texting me afterwards like, "Hey, I'm so sorry I let you down. I'm sorry that,
Mhm.
I wasn't there for you." And this is like a 26-year veteran because my
Yeah.
my partner that I was with, he went one way and I went with
Oh,
another
okay.
guy that was
Sure,
already
sure.
there. So, in my mind I'm thinking, "Dude, you were with me. Like I'm good. Like I don't care that you didn't shoot. That's completely fine. Whatever." I didn't realize until the debrief when we talked about it that he didn't shoot because I was in the middle of the road. He was right next to me, and off to his right were vehicles, which was cover.
Oh,
He thought that when I began shooting, I was going to try to go behind cover, and if he
okay.
would have been shooting, I would have had a step in front of
Okay.
his AR.
And
So
I'll stop you there. And all this is happening in like a second or two.
yeah, quick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then once the subject goes down, then it's okay. Now you've neutralized the threat.
right.
So,
So
I understand why your partner was, acting like that, but I totally understand why he did what he did.
yeah. Oh no, and I'm glad because if I would have gone to cover, he would have blew the back of my head off.
Oh,
and,
shit.
and you know, I mean, that's how we were standing right next to each
Right.
other, and it was also nice to hear why he chose to do what he did because it gave me an opportunity when people talk shit
Yeah.
or when people are like, "Hey, how come so and so didn't shoot? He was right
Right.
there with you. He saw the same thing." And I had an opportunity to squash these rumors because us cops we're the fucking worst to each
Oh,
other.
I was just gonna say that. Oh my God, we're the worst critics in the world.
Yeah. When the community talks shit about me, I almost expect it. I don't really get that doesn't
Right.
fucking bother me at all. But when people that I work with
Oh,
talk shit
it's the
about me,
worst.
it hurts more than the community, you
And
know,
they're
and
the worst Monday morning quarterbacks on planet Earth because it's like
we are.
something happened on late shift. You're the day guys. Well, back when I was a cop, we never would have done that. Or oh my God, I can't believe they're doing that shit. Like shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Were you there? No. Then shut your
Uh,
pie hole.
exactly. And I have said those exact words to other officers. I have said, you weren't there, you didn't see it,
Yep.
you didn't smell it, you didn't feel it. So shut the fuck up. I was there. You have no idea what the fuck you would have done. You have no idea.
Absolutely.
You weren't there.
Yep.
It was your day off and you're talking shit about
Yeah.
somebody who was on scene.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, so
Ugh.
it was that those debriefs are good. That's I mean they're good for a lot of reasons, but that's a huge reason is you get to hear why everybody did what they did. So when people in the locker room start like I would have done this or why didn't he or she do that,
Yep.
you could you could squash those rumors right away. At least officers should be squashing those rumors. You
Yeah.
shouldn't be letting that shit linger and get blow out of proportion.
Now, did you react differently to this one since you've already, unfortunately, you've been through the entire process before? Did,
Right.
none of this is a shock or surprise to you as far as the procedure, end goes. Yeah, did you react differently, do you think, or would everything else kind of come back?
So I still had the headaches every single day. So
Oh,
I was still living with those headaches, the nauseousness. I'm drinking nearly every single day. Not anything crazy, but two, three, four beers every single day, whether it's my day off or day on. Then I get into this officer involved shooting. Um, I felt like I had a chip on my shoulder because now, hey, this is my second shoot. Now I just stopped an active shooter. I'm a hero. When I get transported back to Southern Division, I was absolutely treated like a hero. The chief of police, the executive chief, every single one of our like six or seven assistant chiefs at the time, the captains, lieutenants from all over the department, Southern Division was completely filled with brass. There was people coming up, hugging me,
yeah,
shaking my hand, telling me, "You're a hero. You saved lives. We're proud of you. You should be so proud of yourself. Like you fucking handled business." All kinds of good things. And so, for a one year and 3 months on cop, that's like right.
right.
My peer support officer came. He was an OG on the department, gang detective, multiple officer involved shootings. Um, Everything that he told me that don't drink any alcohol, you're gonna feel like shit, stay off of social media. I remember hearing him telling me that stuff. I respected him a lot, but I had that chip on my shoulder. I had
Mm,
like I've been here and done this shit already. Like I
right,
already know what I'm doing. Don't drink alcohol. I drink alcohol every single day for the
right.
headaches that nobody knows about. So that rule is out the window. When I get home, I was treated like a hero. I want to see what everybody's saying on social media,
Oh
on the blog,
no.
the
Oh God.
comments. Nothing positive comes out of that for
Of course.
everybody. I've done podcasts, my OISs that I've been involved in. I learned my lesson that day is not to read the comments. I don't read the comments on podcasts that I've done. I don't read the comments on the officer involved shootings I've been involved in, except for that one I did. It's so true. Nothing. It is not these people that put their comments in. People are fucking mean.
Yeah, they
Like
are. Yeah.
people are fucking mean, and I learned my lesson that day. But I go home, I start drinking, go to sleep, wake up in the middle of the night. And when you were just talking about how different you've met with officers who have been involved in shootings and everybody reacts differently,
Yep.
this was a perfect example of that. I woke up in the middle of the night. It was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was like a tweaker. Like I was wide awake, energy galore, and I knew that it was normal. And I knew that people have different reactions. Some people have the shits for a week.
Yeah.
Some people sleep a lot. Some people have a hard time sleeping. Some people like you were mentioning. They're perfectly fine. They're like, oh, I got into a gnarly shooting last night. I slept for 9 hours. Got the best sleep of my entire life. Woke up this morning, took my kids to school, got a workout in. Now I'm just doing yard work, and I feel completely great.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you have
There's
everything. Everything. There's
there's
no
no rhyme or reason to it. Zero.
right. Yeah. So I knew that what I was going through was a normal reaction. Well, after April 3rd of 2019, I had trouble falling asleep and staying asleep every night. There was days where I would go 24 hours without sleeping.
Oh.
Uh, I was put on ice for 2 months. This one was a lot quicker, so I was put on ice for
Oh
two
wow.
months
That's
before I got
fast.
released.
Yeah.
Yeah, released back out to the field. And during those 2 months, I went into work, desk duty, and there'd be 24 hours without sleeping. There was a handful of times that I went 2 days without sleeping,
Now,
where you
didn't
feel,
anybody notice that, hey, Mike hasn't been sleeping at all. You look like shit. You're probably irritable as hell. And nobody's going to say, hey, dude, something ain't right about you.
you know, I don't think anybody noticed, but there's this really weird thing that you're so tired, but as soon as you walk through that locker room, there's like a switch that comes on where
Yeah.
you could play off a hangover
Oh, yeah.
easy.
Yep.
You could play off being tired. Like there's something in the brain that it's like this adrenaline rush. And talk about running on fumes. I was running on fumes some days where, again, the sleeping not sleeping for 2 days, that was only a handful of times, but there was quite a few times where I'd go to sleep at or lay down at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, and I would toss and turn all fucking night long until the sun comes up in my window, and you just go back to work and you do it all over again. Um, while the drinking picked up then, because if I drank more than I already was, I'd go to sleep. Perfectly fine. We do that. Cops do that all the time, right?
Right.
Not the healthiest move,
No.
but we do that. We'll have a couple of more drinks, get a stronger buzz going, and we go to sleep. 2 weeks later was when the nightmares. About 2 weeks later, the nightmares kicked up,
Oh.
and they were absolutely horrible. They were frightening, crying in my sleep, kicking in my
Mm.
sleep, waking up sweating,
Yeah.
um, waking up with my heart beating out of my chest, my heart beating out the side of my neck,
Oh.
clearing my house in the middle of the night. And when you're clearing your house, it's so loud because your heart is beating out of your eardrums. Like there's just this loud, no, like you almost could feel it's almost like I could hear my blood rushing through my brain or something. There's just
Wow.
this loud noise in your ear. And I was looking out at shadows. Well, now I understand why. Why for a couple of things. my alcohol kicked up even more when the nightmares kicked up because I quickly learned that if I got fucked up every night, not just a hard buzz, drunk, but if I got fucked up every night, I'd go to sleep, the headaches would go away, the nightmares would go away.
Oh,
I never let my brain go into REM sleep.
oh,
With
that is
when you have
so
alcohol,
unhealthy. Oh my
oh
God.
yeah, when you have that much alcohol in your system, your brain does not go into REM sleep. I didn't know that at the time. I learned all this later on down the line. But for me, I was like, man, the alcohol works. Like I have a full blown hangover the next day, but it's working. The headaches, the nauseousness, in the moment when you're drinking, the headaches, the nauseousness, that numbness. I could play with my kids when I'm
Yeah.
buzzed and I'm playing with my kids, rolling around the ground. I'm not grumpy. I could take out the trash, do chores, or help out around the house, and the nightmares were gone. Well, that none of that helped my marriage, and so
No.
that was the results of the second officer involved shooting.
Oh. Now you go back to the street after 2 months. Now your drinking is amped up. And did it like trail off a little bit once you went back on the street, or did it just keep going?
The only thing that slowed down was how early I started drinking.
Oh my gosh.
Um, and there was days too where I wouldn't drink because you already pushed your body is so exhausted from the hangover
Oh
and
yeah.
from getting fucked up 2 nights in a row. And then I was still out there performing my job. Like I'm still out there getting guns, getting in foot pursuits, getting, you have a moment of like your body's just exhausted. You just
Mm,
rack out, and
yeah.
so there was that. But
Wow.
for the most part, the alcohol was doing its job. So I thought it was.
So you're back on the street. Nobody's noticing that, your drinking is amped up, you're coming in hungover, you're tired. Uh, your home life is not so hot. Your wife is probably not cool with any of this. And, you go through all that. When did the third shooting happen?
7 months later.
Son of a biscuit. Oh my gosh. Man. You know, what happened with that one?
So, and then kind of to go on like what people, if people noticed, one of the very interesting things is as as little sleep that I was getting, and the that literally burning the fuse on both ends of or burning the wick from both ends, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I was getting dope and guns and good arrest and vehicle pursuits and foot pursuits, and I got the employee of the month, and I was getting awards and captain commendations and supervisor write-ups. I think again, there's something that like the human body, that adrenaline that you could push your body through and still go out there and perform at kind of at top notch level.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And yeah, people didn't notice. I think if people would have paid more attention, some of the things they would have noticed was I did start complaining about headaches. I'm like, man, I got a fucking headache, but it was the hangovers. Um, if people would have paid more attention, they would have seen um, uh, that they probably would have seen that I was always tired, that I was working more and more overtime.
Mm,
They probably would have seen that.
yeah. So 7 months goes by. Now you're in your third shooting. What happened?
So there was a vehicle pursuit. We were chasing a suspect that had done a home invasion robbery. He had taken the F-150 from that home, shot at a couple of people
So he's
two
armed.
days in a row.
Okay,
He was yeah, armed and dangerous.
yep.
Turns into a vehicle pursuit. The vehicle turns into a cul-de-sac.
Mm,
I'm number two in the pursuit, so the number one PD vehicle follows it in. As the F-150 is coming out of the cul-de-sac, I decide to bottleneck that cul-de-sac. So now it's a face-off between his F-150, our police vehicle. And as my partner and I are getting out of the car to conduct the hot stop, he rams the front of our SUV. And as the F-150 kind of rolls back, he takes off, hits the passenger side door shut. This is like around 11 o'clock at night. I see my partner stepping out of that door 1 second, the next second he's gone. And as I backpedal to the back of our SUV, the F-150 is driving right past me, and I see a black object riding right on the grill of the F-150. So I begin shooting into the vehicle. The vehicle continues to take off. I turn around to reholster my gun. And on the left side of my peripheral, I see something flopping back and forth on the floor.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, damn, that's my partner. He
Oh.
just came back from baby leave with his
Oh.
firstborn son at home. He's probably not going to survive that. My wife knows his wife. My parents have met his parents. Like our squads were tight.
Yeah.
And I just remember I felt like forever, but all these thoughts were going through my head. And one of them was, I don't want to turn around and render aid to him. And I
Mm.
don't want to help him. I don't want to look at him. I don't want to deal with him. I have a lot of shit going on in my life. I don't know if I'm I'm prepared to have to deal with what I'm going to
Right.
deal with.
Absolutely.
And as all this is going through my mind, I turn around to render aid to my partner flopping on the ground, and I realize that it's not my partner, it's the back bumper of
Oh.
our SUV that's still attached to the right driver's side, and it's flopping
Oh.
in the my partner dove back into the car when the F-150 hit his passenger side door shut.
Holy
I never
shit.
saw that happening,
Okay.
and that was the beginning of, or that was like, yeah, that was like the beginning of the end right there for me. I get taken back to the station. My or not my lieutenant, but a lieutenant at the time told me, "Hey, this is not you've been through this process before. I highly encourage you to take the advice of your lawyer when they get here." And I was like, "Well, shit, that doesn't
What does that
sound good
mean?
at all."
Yeah, exactly. That's ominous.
We found out, or I found out, or I didn't find out, I knew that there was a female passenger inside the vehicle, and she was riding on the passenger side. The suspect was driving the vehicle. But the way that I was trained, when you're in the academy and when you're in phase training, when you're out in the field, you're expected to make a fucking decision.
Yep.
You're expected to make a split-second decision. Sometimes we have the luxury of having time on our side where we can wait, and sometimes we don't have that luxury. And I made a split-second decision to shoot into the vehicle, to try to shoot and kill the suspect who was driving, because I couldn't let my partner get dragged down the street riding the grill of that F-150. And the female was never shot. Nobody gave me any information, though. I didn't know if she had been shot. I didn't know if
Okay.
he had been shot.
Mm.
SWAT ends up getting him barricaded a few hours later in an apartment complex. She was found down the road, hiding underneath a vehicle.
Okay.
But yeah, nobody told me, and my world came crumbling down that
Oh,
night.
God. But thankfully, you missed. You know,
I
you,
missed.
yeah, so that's a good thing, that you
Very
missed.
good.
Things may have, you can articulate anything, and under the circumstances, it makes sense to me why you did what you did. And there's, of course, the Monday morning quarterbacks. Oh my God, there's, this innocent person in the car. Oh my God, our rules and regs say you can't fire into a moving car.
Right.
And I always answer that with, I live in Waukesha, Wisconsin. We had an asshole in a pickup truck, no, in a Ford Bronco, yeah, an SUV, go to the Waukesha Christmas parade. And he went on Facebook and he said, I'm going to kill as many white people as possible. And
Oh
he was
wow.
out on bail. This just pisses me off so much. He was out on bail for running over his girlfriend. And she had like a broken leg, a broken pelvis, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, the bail was like $500 or something, because that's the way things are. And he gets on this rant, I'm just going to run over as many white folk as possible. So he goes out and he killed, I think it was 12 people. in this parade.
Wow. Oh,
And
you know what? I think I saw that.
yeah, that was my home. That's where I live right now. And my granddaughter was at that
Uh,
parade. There's a picture of her picking up candy. She was, I think, 4 years old, 5 years old, picking up candy that they were throwing out for the kids. And this asshole in this, it was a red SUV, now I'm remembering, behind her. He could have easily killed her. She got trampled. Thank God all she had was stitches. But there was a Waukesha cop that fired into this car to try and stop him. If he would have hit this guy, he'd be a hero,
right.
right? But it's against the rules. You can't fire into a car. Well,
They fired him for that?
no, no, they did not. They did not.
Oh my God.
No.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
no, no, no. But what I'm saying is if all these people, we'll talk about the ICE stuff a little bit later. Oh my God, there's a rule somewhere, there's a law somewhere you can't. Guess what? It
right,
it it all depends on the situation. It Yeah, there's so much gray area that we dance around in Copville that it's not even funny. And like you said, you have a second to make up your mind.
right.
So yeah, again, the Monday morning quarterback, all that. So this is your third. You know, Thankfully, it turned out okay. Best possible scenario where nobody got hurt. Your partner is okay. You're in one piece. But did anybody like pull you off to the side and say, dude, this is three within 2 years. Maybe it's time to take our breath and say, you know what? Maybe an inside job, not forever, but just for the time being, it's like you need a
Yeah.
break, man. You just do. Did anybody do
So
that?
so nobody did quite that, but I come into my debrief. My shooting happened on Saturday. I come into my debrief on Monday morning, and this was one of those days where I hadn't slept in 2 days.
Yeah.
So when I woke up Saturday morning to go to work, I didn't. I was still awake on Monday morning at 8 o'clock.
Oh God.
So, and then my shooting was Saturday night at like around 11 o'clock at night.
Oh,
So this was one of those days. So I had been drinking for 2 days straight, and I walk into my debrief, and I'm 45 minutes late. And the wellness unit, San Diego PD's wellness unit, was there to greet me in the hallway. And they said, "Hey, we want to. You're not in any kind of trouble. We just want to have a conversation
yeah.
with you at our office." And I said, "Okay, well, uh, your office is at headquarters in downtown, on the seventh floor, the same floor that the chief's office is at, and the same
Same with
floor that
us.
internal."
We always say it's the seventh floor. It's like, oh my God, I have to go to the seventh floor. The
Yeah,
dreaded seventh floor. Oh my gosh.
and we have internal affairs on the same floor as well.
Ugh.
So I was like, "No, thank you. I got too much shit to do today. I'm not going." Well, I do my thing in the debrief. I come back out. This is about 2 hours, and they're still waiting for me. And this time they're like, "Hey, you are coming up to have a conversation with us. Like
Mm.
it's not really up for debate today." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, so uh, I knew I knew I was going to get fired. In the current state that I was in,
Ugh.
given the fact that I had driven myself
Yeah.
uh, to there. I mean, who knows? Maybe I'm not a DUI expert, but
Right. But
I,
yeah.
I may have been involved in a couple of state violations and policies and
Yeah.
procedures in the moment. But I ended up going to headquarters, and I remember parking in the parking lot, and I remember just thinking, "It's over. the The gig is up. I'm done. All this hard work that I put into my career, all the hard work that I put in trying to get into this career, my reputation, my money, everything. It's over." And I get into the wellness unit office, and Deanna, who was at the time, she was a dispatcher by trade, but she was also our alcohol and substance abuse specialist.
Okay.
She comes in, she comes in and she says, "How are you doing, Mike?" I said, "I'm doing great. How are you?" And she said, "How's your sleep?" "Sleep's pretty good. I overslept today for 45 minutes. That's why I was late." "How's the wife and kids doing?" "Wife and kids are doing great." My wife and I were divorcing at the
Oh
time,
God.
at this point already. So I said, "Wife and kids were great." And she stared and looked at me. It felt like it felt like she looked at me for like 60 seconds. I mean, it felt like forever. And she said, "You know what, Mike? Your whole life is fucked up and you don't even know it. Your career is about to be fucked up too. We've talked to a couple of people that love and care about you, and we think that you may be having issues with alcohol, and it may be due to all your critical incidents that you've been involved in. And we want to offer you an opportunity to go get some help. There is a first responder treatment facility in Los Angeles County. They deal specifically with first responders dealing with substance abuse and PTSD issues. We think you would benefit from going to this." I'm not crazy. I'm good. I
Right.
could quit anytime I want. No, thank you. So she followed up with me for a couple of days. I said no to the opportunity. And finally, when I finally, about three days later, I accepted the offer,
Okay.
because I knew that I was the paranoia that I had, the paranoia, the nightmares, the screaming in my sleep, no sleep. I knew that all that shit wasn't normal. I knew that I was going to get fired, but I wanted the department to fix me before they let me go. So I was like, you know what?
All right.
I'll go.
Wow. So how soon after that did you actually go to this treatment facility?
Probably. So what? My shooting happened on November 9th. So probably by, so 9, 10, 11, 12, probably like 3 days later after she
Okay.
talked to me. So probably, yeah, it was quick. It was probably like within a week to like 9 days or something, 10
This
days.
was inpatient. So it's a different county, so you would be like living there, right?
Yeah, I lived there for 26 days, got diagnosed with PTSD, spent Thanksgiving of 2019 in inpatient treatment.
Were you allowed visitors?
Not right away.
Okay.
I think I was allowed visitors about 2 weeks later.
Did your wife come to visit you?
She did.
Okay.
She came one time to visit me, and we were still going through our divorce. She brought the kids.
Yeah.
Uh, I remember telling her not to come back ever again. I didn't know how long I was going to be there.
Yeah.
Uh, it was I don't get to talk about that too much. That was hard.
I bet it was.
That was hard. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. So life at the treatment facility, I mean, was it like bongos and
Yeah.
yoga
Yeah.
and goat
Yeah.
yoga? I mean, I'm being
It was
facetious, obviously, but yeah.
no, it was a little bit of that. Maybe not bongos, but it was yoga. We did yoga. We did acupuncture, paint therapy, equine therapy, one-on-one sessions with the doctor, our
Yeah.
group sessions, breathing exercises, meditation. I took advantage of everything. One of the biggest takeaways from being at that facility, one of the biggest takeaways immediately, was I learned about cumulative trauma.
Mm,
I never, I never knew what that was. I didn't know what the concept. I didn't compound trauma, cumulative
yeah.
trauma, same stuff. All the OGs that I was in there with, guys with from 10 years to 47 years in the profession, not one of those guys had been involved in one officer involved shooting. I was the baby in
Wow.
there, and I had been involved in three. But as we started to talk in our groups, and I learned why everybody was in there, and then they got to learn why I was in there, I learned about the cumulative trauma, the all the shit that we see in our career, from the baby deaths to the
Yeah.
death notifications of a mother's scream, to a train versus a pedestrian, suicides, accidental drowning, SIDS deaths. I mean, all kinds of things, right? Either the sad ones, the nasty ones, the violent crimes, everything that we deal with in our profession, all the way to the bullshit internal affairs and the politics and the,
Yep.
hey, I applied for this position and I got chosen over a slug. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
all the little stuff. And then when we get home, none of that shit. Life doesn't stop. We go through our divorces, and we go through fights with our significant others, and our kids are dealing with substance abuse and criminal behavior and mental health issues, and we have financial issues, we have medical issues of our own, our
Right.
parents pass away, family members get sick, and then you get into all the shit that you bring with you into this profession. You know, people have been molested and raped, and they lost a mom or a dad at a young age. Their parents divorced, which affected. You realize affected them when they were younger.
Yep.
Some guys lost a brother or a sister at a young age, right? All these things that we deal with, growing up homeless, being bullied in school, all of that is cumulative trauma. And I never knew that. I never realized that. I didn't know that the cumulative trauma starts when we're born, right? And
Right.
everything we deal with, and then the profession, and then what do we deal with after when we come home from work? And it was an eye-opening experience to see that. That was the first major, thing that I saw.
Now, when you were there, did you crave alcohol?
The I didn't really crave it too much, so that was an interesting thing for me. Quitting alcohol was actually pretty easy for me. Once the first week I did, the first week I noticed that I was eating chocolate like crazy, and I didn't know why.
Okay.
All I knew was that facility had chocolate everywhere. There was chocolate, candy, and I'm like, holy shit! Like I'm eating candy and chocolate, and they're like, well, you haven't had any alcohol and your body's
Yeah.
craving that breakdown of that sugar,
Okay.
so yeah, so I had these, like, I had the munchies like crazy. But once the symptoms went away, the I started working on my sleep, and the headaches went away, the
Yep.
paranoia started to go away. That craving for alcohol really wasn't even there. I learned that I was using that alcohol to self-medicate,
Yeah.
um, for the symptoms, but for me, quitting alcohol was thankfully for me, it was pretty easy. Like, I didn't get the shakes or anything like that. I was on medication for a week, the first week. Um, a lot of it was more due to my paranoia,
Mm.
my anxiety, my
Yeah.
paranoia, try to relax me a little bit, especially at night. But I was only on that for maybe like 5, 6, 7 days at the max, and then I got my first. I remember my first night of sleep, nearly 2 weeks into the program. That was life change. I mean, just from one night of sleeping the entire night without waking up for 8 or 9 hours, that crisp clarity that I had in
Mm.
my brain, that fogginess was gone just from one night.
Wow.
One 8, 9 hours of sleep. It was like my brain had taken its first breath of pure oxygen. It was like an amazing feeling when I woke up in the morning.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Now, did you consider yourself an alcoholic?
I did.
Okay.
At the time I did. For a couple of years I had to consider myself. I was like, well, I'm an alcoholic because I was drinking
Yeah.
every day. And um, it wasn't until later that I learned, no, you're probably not an alcoholic. You were self-medicating for all those issues that you were having.
Mm.
But that didn't come till a couple of years later.
Do you drink now?
I do. Yeah, I
Okay.
drink. I drink now. I'm drinking right now. No, I'm just I'm just joking.
Me
So
too. All right.
so it the so I was sober for over 2 years, and I was talking to my counselor, and I said, hey, I'm tossing around the idea of drinking again, but I don't know if I'm an alcoholic. Do you think I'm an alcoholic? If you say I'm an alcoholic, I'm not going to drink again. But
Yeah.
and he's like, well, did you have withdrawals? Like what happened when you went to the facility? How often do you crave it? I was like, I don't really crave it at all. I could go to bars with the guys after work. I could drink Red Bull. I'm completely fine. I'm not jonesing for it, and
Yeah. Yeah.
salivating
Right.
over a beer. But sometimes, like, and I told him, I was like, sometimes I'm eating like a burger and wings, and I just want a cold ass beer, but I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm an alcoholic.
Yep.
And he said, you know, you have to talk to your wife about that. I don't think you're an alcoholic. I wouldn't consider you an alcoholic. I think you were self-medicating. So I was like, okay. And eventually, January 1st of 2022, my wife and I had my first drink. And but I always tell people, not everybody is like me. There are people who are like me, who are self-medicating. There's other people who can't be around alcohol. They
Right.
can't just have one.
One turns into
They
two,
can't
two
have
turns
two.
into 10. Yeah.
Right. And I always tell people, especially at San Diego, like when I'm working with people at San Diego PD, you always have to ask yourself why. I had a hard ass day today. I'm tired. I'm gonna drink a beer to go to sleep. Well, if you're drinking alcohol to cope with anything, it's probably not a good idea. If you're drinking alcohol because you have to loosen up before a family party or a work engagement, that's not a good thing. That's an issue.
Right.
If you're using it to cope because you had a bad day at work, um, don't do it. So I'm very cognizant of when I'm drinking. There's times when I go to conferences and I'll have drinks. There's times where I go to conferences and I have a headache, and I know that if I do have a drink, it'll take that headache away. But I don't drink.
Okay.
I don't drink to cope with anything, and that's again, that's just for me. That's not everybody. Not
Right.
everybody can do that.
Okay. So you have your third, you go through this treatment, you kind of get squared away now. Things are more squared away. Did that help with your relationship with your wife, or did you go through with the divorce, or?
Yeah, so she ended up staying with me. We ended up going to doing counseling after I got back, after I got out of treatment,
Yeah.
and it's been, it hasn't been easy. I didn't go into treatment and then just come out and I'm like a brand new man now.
Right.
It's something it's like going to the gym. You gotta work on it. Like it's time consuming. You're not only working on it with your therapist, but you're working on suggestions that he or she gives you at
Sure.
home, and you're trying to apply them to real life situations. It's hard to break habits that you do, but it's possible. You can do it.
Well, kudos to your wife for sticking by you through all that.
Oh,
That's
big
no easy
time.
task to be married to a cop, period. Then you compound all this other stuff on top of it. I mean, that she's a good woman. I've never met her. I don't know who she is, but man, she's a good
She
woman.
is. She is. I'm glad she didn't kill me. She could
Yeah.
have.
Me too. That's a good thing. So after the third, you're squared away. Did you go back to your old squad again?
Yeah, so I went back out to the field. I went back out to the field, and so let's see. I came out in December of 2019. So they took me out of the field for an additional 2 months. So I came back out maybe in February of 2020. I became an FTO. Uh,
Okay.
I became a um, I became a member of our OIS peer support team. So now I was going out and helping people through critical incidents, and it was it was it was awesome. June of 2021, I was voluntold to go to the wellness unit.
I love voluntold.
Um,
That's awesome.
yeah, Deanna, the lady that helped me get into the treatment facility, she came to me. She said, "Hey, how would you like to work at the wellness unit?" And I'm like, "Yeah, maybe when I'm all old and shit. Like not right now. I have a trainee. Like we're getting guns and dope,
Yeah.
and I'm able I'm still rolling out to all these critical incidents." And I was like, "I love what I'm doing." And I said, "Well, let me talk to the captain. Let me ask her if she will approve me to go over there temporarily." And she said, "Don't even worry about asking the captain. The chief of police already approved it. You're good to go." So I was like, "Well, shit. I guess I'm going to the wellness
Yeah,
unit."
your
And
fate
I've
is
been
sealed, dude.
yeah, I've been there since June of 2021, and it's been a blessing. It's been absolutely rewarding. I never thought I'd be the wellness guy. Like my goal was always to go like to gangs or canine or
Yeah,
SWAT,
absolutely. Yeah.
and God just had a different plan for me. He's like, "Nah, you're gonna do the wellness. You're gonna be the wellness guy now." And And it's being able to help other officers who need it and want it, has been absolutely rewarding. It's not an adrenaline rush feel, but it's a rewarding
It's
feel when
rewarding. Yeah.
when
For,
people are able to save their marriages or save their life. I've
absolutely.
talked to people who have told me afterwards, like, um, things could have been a little bit different if I didn't get the help that you talked to me about or that you offered me or whatever it may be. So, and that's just not just me. We have 4 members on our wellness unit, and we're all of us are doing that work. I mean, we're making a difference. People might not know it because it's confidential. They don't know who it is I'm working with or I'm
Sure.
talking to,
And
but
it
we
has to be
know.
that
Like
way. Yes.
we on our unit, we know that we're making a difference, and it's
Okay.
a big one. So I love it.
Very good. But now three officer involved shootings. Now comes number four, for God's sakes. When did
Yes.
that happen and how did that come to being?
So I'm the wellness guy now. I'm the wellness unit guy. I uh I was still working every Monday. My partner and I, we would go work
Easy. Okay. Yeah.
easy overtime gigs. And on January 1st of 2022, I told you that my wife and I, we brought in the new year with my first sip of alcohol. I had like
Yeah.
2 beers. Well, 9 days later, January 10th of 2022, that's when I had my fourth officer involved shooting. I was sober. I stayed sober for like another 6 or 7 months after that because I was like, "Holy shit,
Yeah.
I don't want to start drinking again."
Right.
But um, my partner and I are working an easy overtime gig Monday morning around 7 o'clock in the morning. An armed robbery with a knife comes out. So suspect robs a liquor store at knife point, takes about $500 from the cash register. Was last seen running down the alley behind the liquor store. My partner and I were like 15 minutes away. We were a little distance away from it. So we said, "Hey, by the time we get there, this guy's going to be long gone. 7 o'clock in the morning on a Monday. People are going to and from work. Let's just go and assist with maybe some witness statements, right?" So we start going there. I start driving down the alley where the suspect was last seen running down. And about 2 blocks away, there is an individual walking away from us, loosely matching the clothing description. So my partner says, "Hey, let's just go check this guy out. It's most likely not going to be the guy." So we start driving behind him. We're in the alley. The guy looks back at us and he scoots over to kind of let us continue to drive through the alley. And as I'm passing him, dispatch gets on the air and she puts out the description. I mean, perfect. Talk about perfect timing. She puts out the description. It's going to be a Hispanic male, thin build, light skin with a thin mustache. And as I'm passing this guy, he looks at me, I look at him, and my partner is like, "Holy shit, this is a good possible." So I pull up, we get out of the car. Before I could even say anything to this guy, he pulls out a knife from the top of his jacket and he blades off and he pulls out a gun from his waistband.
Son of a
He
bitch.
points the gun at me. I start shooting. My partner starts shooting. Next thing you know, I feel something hit my chest. I fall back to the ground. I roll over to the prone position. I start shooting from the prone position. My partner's shooting. Another San Diego PD officer gets there. He's shooting the suspect. The suspect's bladed off, pointing the gun down at me. And I start shooting from the prone position. Bang, 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 bang. Slide locks back. I run out of ammo. And I remember thinking, I knew I was gonna die
Oh
in
man.
that moment. I knew I was gonna die. I remember thinking when he shoots me in my forehead right now, will I feel the impact?
Mm.
Will it be painful? Will it just be lights out? God, don't let me die here.
Yeah.
I know I'm gonna die. Just don't let me die here in this cold alley. Let me die at the hospital or something.
Right.
And I start rolling to the front of my car, reload, shoot the suspect multiple times. He hits the ground and he sits back up. grabs a gun off the floor, picks it back up, points it back at me. I shoot him 3 more times, and then we ended up killing him. That was my fourth officer involved shooting, January 10th of 2022.
Now, was he wearing a vest?
No, but I think he took about 15. He took quite a few rounds. I mean, all over his like neck, chest, back, legs,
Was he on meth or
and
what was he
yeah,
on?
all my people were on meth.
You're a meth magnet. Jesus.
Yeah, yeah,
Damn, dude.
yeah. And let me throw in before I forget to mention it. I thought I was shot. I was never shot. The suspect had a pellet gun.
Ugh,
Whatever hit me, I don't know what hit me. I don't know if I ran into my own brass. When I'm
yeah.
shooting, I was running backwards towards my right. I don't know if I ran into my own brass, but your body and your brain does these weird things. It magnifies things. Your
Oh yeah.
sensation is heightened. Whatever I thought I had been shot, I even aired. I put over the air that I had been hit. I
Yeah.
was I was never hit, but I thought I was. I mean,
Sure.
my video's on YouTube, but I'm taking off my vest and I'm looking for where I was shot, and I was never shot.
Wow. So, what was the aftermath of that one? What was different about this one compared to the rest of them?
So, well, one, I was so much more healthier going into this incident. My marriage, my faith, my relationships. Um, I immediately, right afterwards, I had a little bit of issues um, with the headaches. The headaches
Yeah,
kind of came back a little bit, but I didn't go back to the alcohol. I called my counselor right away, and I said, "Hey, I need to schedule an appointment with you." And we started working on things
sure.
right away. And I bounced back from this incident so much easier than I did all the other three combined. And I credit that to the department and the wellness unit and the resources that they had available to me. The the fact that they had a place for me to go, which was a treatment facility. If I would have never gotten the help back in 2019 going to that treatment facility, I wouldn't never have been around for this fourth OIS.
Wow.
That's how far down that dark road I
Right.
was in. I mean, I was doing high risk behavior at work, as far as like dangerous shit,
Yeah.
stopping gangsters, searching them by myself.
Yep.
Um, I was never suicidal, but I didn't want to. I was never suicidal. I just didn't want to be here anymore.
Okay.
I I didn't want to be. I, I I didn't want to die, but I just knew that if I just wasn't around, life would just be so much peaceful for myself, for my family, the
Hmm.
screaming and yelling, the fighting with the wife, the divorce. But I never wanted to commit suicide yet. I mean, I always say that I was days or weeks from
Hmm.
probably doing it or
Yeah.
thinking it,
So,
definitely contemplating it.
was there ever a time when you thought that perhaps you were in the wrong line of work and you should get out while you were still in one piece?
Uh, I wouldn't say that. I would say that there was times when I would blame myself as like, why is this happening to me? I'm at the wrong place at the wrong time. Uh, but I realized today, one of my peer supporter for the trailer park incident, he said something to me once that's stuck with me. He said, uh, "You're at the right place at the right time. If God didn't think that you could
Hmm.
handle it, that you couldn't handle it, He wouldn't put you through this stuff." And he couldn't be furthest from the truth. And I think that's not just for me; that's for everybody. Things that happen in our life, some way you might not know why it's happening, but it comes back around full circle. And today I'm helping out other officers. I'm at the wellness unit. I never knew back in 2018 and 2019 when I was struggling that there was going to be a reason for it.
Yeah.
I, I never could imagine that I would be now presenting at different conferences and helping people get into treatment facilities and talking to people when their mom passed away, like just being more caring. Like I never thought that it would come around full circle, but it has, and there's a
Right.
reason for it. God has a reason for everything.
So, what's your advice to someone who is or has gone through, a tough patch or a critical incident during their police career?
There's light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay,
Um, nothing nothing lasts forever. Um, that bad situation or that dark moment, that will at some point, it's going to end. But we as men and women, we need to put in that work. Uh, Again, it's like going to the gym. I can't work out for you. I can't lose weight for you. I can't eat healthy for you. You have to do that shit yourself. And if there's something that you're struggling with, you know, talk to people that you work with if you feel comfortable. Talk to other peers who have been there
sure,
and done that. Talk to some of the OGs that you know who have similar situations. And if you still are struggling, go talk to a professional, talk to a counselor, a therapist, a psychiatrist. But it's okay to go through those dark moments in your life. It's not okay to stay there. And it's not okay to blame everybody else for your problems when you're not willing to go get the help and fix it.
sure.
But there's light at the end of the tunnel, and you're worth it. Your family's worth it. Your children are worth it. Um, yeah, you deserve to get better, feel better, and put in that work. Though it's not easy, but it's doable. If I could do it, I swear to God, anybody can do it.
Now,
Trust me.
when people go through extreme circumstances like you, what I've seen is they either turn towards God or a higher being or the opposite. It's like, I hate God. Why did he put me in this position? They say there's no atheists in foxholes. So what happened to you?
Uh, uh, I grew up in the faith. I grew up believing in God. I grew up going to church during when I was struggling, especially after my second OIS with the nightmares, the paranoia. Uh, I hated God, and it hurts me to say that
Yeah,
today.
but it's
Uh,
honest. You're being honest. I mean, that's yeah,
yeah, I blamed him for everything, and I was almost like poking the bear. It was like how can a God so powerful that I used to believe in, you can't even help me with X, Y, and Z.
right.
And my relationship is falling apart at home. And I'm fighting over just trying to fight over my children. Um, and you're not helping me, and the nightmares and this and that. When I got healthier, I started going back to church, and I realized that, and it's not just my relationship with God, but my relationship with other people. I realized that all the issues I had with human beings, the relationships that were broken, 15% of it was probably their fault, and the rest of it was mine. It was those the facial expressions, the comments that I said when I was drinking, the lack of empathy that I had, um, the give putting in my last 2 cents, bringing up topics that shouldn't have been talked about during family events, arguing over shit that truly doesn't matter. I realized that a lot of it was my fault, and that was my situation with my faith. Also, I realized that I was expecting God to do everything, and I didn't have to do any work. But you got to put in that work.
Sure.
You have to put in that work. So I've been on both sides. I've been against God, but even if I was an atheist and I didn't believe in God, there's so many things that have happened throughout my entire life, especially in my career, that everything can't just be a coincidence for me.
Yeah.
It, it's not a. It would be hard to say like all of this was a coincidence. How everything kind of circles back around. Yeah, You couldn't convince me of that.
Right. So obviously, I mean, how many years do you have on the department now?
I have 9 years on.
Okay, so not a rookie.
I'm still a baby cop.
You're a seasoned vet now. You're a seasoned vet. Uh, if you had somebody in front of you that wants to be a cop, what would you say one of the number one things they can do to prepare for a career in law enforcement?
Ooh, that is a good question. God, there's so many things from like the physical, you know, I wish when I was in my younger days, I wish I probably would have done more like yoga and stretching exercises because I see even myself, I see so many injuries with like ligament issues
Oh,
and like
yeah.
and some of the best type of exercises or ways to strengthen that is like yoga and Pilates, all these things that look weak.
Yeah, that
At
most
the time,
dudes
they
don't
were
do, right? Yeah.
right. Yeah. I wish I would have, worked on those like fine little details of working out, like
Yep.
ligaments and all that stuff. That and come into this profession with the right attitude, with the heart to be able, with the heart to helping somebody who can't help themselves. Um, don't come into this profession thinking that you're going to become famous or rich. Um, this is it's a rewarding career, but it's a thankless one. You're going to save lives, and no one's going to thank you for it.
Yep, you got that
So
right. Yeah.
yeah, so you gotta come into it with the right heart, knowing that what you're doing is the right thing. Um, and then don't be afraid to go out there and get it. Pay attention and listen to what the OGs have to tell you, and don't get offended by criticism when people criticize you for doing something. Um, you're constantly learning.
Oh yeah.
Nobody is perfect at this job. Everybody is constantly learning, and so don't be afraid to do that. But I would say maybe number one thing is take care of your body, take care of your mind, your spirit,
Yeah.
and come into this profession with the right mindset and the right heart.
Yeah, I really liked what you said about, you're a public servant.
Mhm.
That's you're there to serve the public, not a specific boss, not a specific unit, not a specific what. You're you're there for the public. You are literally the thin blue line. And if you can't wrap your head around that, and if you feel uncomfortable with that, don't be a cop. It's really simple stuff. But
We would think it's simple, right?
yeah, it's not. So what would you say if one of your kids came to you and said, "Hey, Dad, I want to be a cop"?
Oh,
What would you say to them?
you know, my wife and I, we've had this conversation with them, and
How old are they now? How old are they now?
they are 9 and 8.
Okay, they're still youngsters. Okay.
They're still young, so they're like, "I want to be a cop." Both of them have said that, and I'm
Uh,
like, "Let's think of something else. Let's think of a different job." And so
astronauts are
my young,
cool.
yeah, so
Yeah.
they said one says an astronaut, the other one says, "I want to fly a fighter jet." And I look at my wife, she's like, "Oh Lord," she's yeah, yeah. And
Oh,
my youngest one, he's like, we're always like looking like different things on like YouTube. Like we'll find like he's like, well, what's this? Or do carrots really are they good for your eyes? We're like, well, let's look it up and see what
sure.
like the little educational things on YouTube. And so we looked up one time what are the most like dangerous jobs on Earth, and it was those it's like those underwater pipe divers or
Oh
whatever.
yeah,
They
the
go and fix
underwater
like
welders, underwater, a lot of that
well,
stuff. Yeah, that's dangerous stuff.
right. So now both of them are like, and then I guess on the YouTube thing it said like they make a whole bunch of money. Like you
Oh
can make
yeah.
a ton of hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and they're like, I want to do that, and my wife's like, so she's gonna have a heart attack when they get older.
Oh
I
boy.
bet.
So what would you
I don't know
say
what
if
I would.
well, what if they're 18 years old and they said, Dad, yeah, maybe I'll go to college, maybe I'll go in the military, but eventually I want to be a cop. Would you try to dissuade them or would you encourage it or what would you do?
gosh, I would, if that's what they really wanted to do, I would support them. Um, I would tell them the pros and the cons.
Yep.
I would try to prepare them to go in there again with the best mindset, and just remind them, like, and then share my experience with them. One day I'll be able to share that experience and what I've gone through. And that's all we can hope for as parents, right? That they don't make the same mistakes that we make, um, and that they learn from their mistakes, and they don't make the same mistakes that we make. So I would support it. I mean, I wouldn't fight against it. I would definitely give them some other ideas, like,
Yeah.
hey, there's some other first responders that, less likely to get involved in
Right.
something, and they get paid a lot better. Become an FBI agent.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. Become
So what's next for you? Where are we going?
I'm gonna be here at the wellness unit for a while. Eventually, I'll probably put in for, sergeant, or at least try to take the sergeant's exam and the test. But right now, I'm just, I like what I'm doing. It's good for the family. It's rewarding, and I'm still doing presentations all over the place. And um, yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
All right. So when's the book coming out? You got a hell of a
I,
story, Mike. I got to tell you,
you
man, you
know,
got a hell of a story.
You know what? I started writing the book.
That's what I like to
This is
hear.
what I got. This is where I got so far. Once upon a time. No, I think I've written probably about 3 chapters now. Barely starting like at the beginning of my, growing up
Yeah,
and all that stuff. But I kind of want to. I do want to write the book, and I'm not going to be around forever. It would be nice to leave something for my kids and grandkids
absolutely.
to
It's a
read
great
one
legacy
day.
thing.
And
Yeah.
right, yeah. So
I
that's my goal. It's a big project. I didn't realize it was going to take so long, but it's definitely time consuming. It's
it
super
is.
time consuming.
You know
Yeah.
what though? But once you get in that groove, dude, here's my advice to you. I mean, my 11th book just came back from my editor today. It's
Oh wow.
50,000 words, which isn't a ton, but it's not, short either. Like the last 4 books I wrote before that, I think were 70,000. But anyways, here's my advice to you and anybody else that, it's like, hey, I want to write a book. And it's like, start out with 100 words a day. You can do that. I
Yeah.
promise you. Just, you don't need anything fancy, just a Word doc and a computer, and just, start from there. And it's like, going to the gym or anything else. You start building that muscle. And then before you know it, 100 turns into 200, 200 turns into 300. My goal is, if I can write 1,000 words a day, I have a book written in 2 months.
I like that. Yeah.
So just take off little chunks at a piece. Don't go into it thinking it's like, yeah, oh shit, I gotta write this 100,000 word manuscript, blah blah blah. This is gonna take me forever. Ah, screw it. It's like,
When I first started, I was looking at the big picture. It took me like 4 days to start. I think it was like too overwhelming
oh yeah,
for me.
absolutely it is. Absolutely. But you know what though? Once you start going, it's like anything else. You'll find your groove, and I think I think it'd be really good, and it's therapeutic actually too,
Yeah.
to put it
Yeah, and
down in
I've
words.
recognized that also is just, going when I do presentations, it's almost like its own therapy, especially when I have people coming up to me afterwards or emailing me, or telling me like, hey, I know exactly what you went through, like this happened with me, and I didn't know that you handled it this way, and that's a
Yeah.
good idea to do it this way. We're helping each other out. We're paying it forward.
Yeah.
We're paying it forward, and it's therapy at the same time. So it's awesome.
Absolutely. Well, let's start landing the plane here. We've been talking for a while. Man,
Oh,
I could
that's
talk to
good.
you
Yeah,
all day,
yeah.
dude. But
I know.
but I believe my heart of hearts that you would be a perfect fit for sergeant. I really, really hope you do that. I hope you get back on the street and you're a sergeant and you can help out your cops. You can help out, the citizens of your city, because it is the best job in the world because you're the buffer between the brass and the cops who are doing the work every day. You know, you're going to be their cheerleader. You're going to be that guy that, is, hey, Sarge, as they close the door to your office, you got a minute? And they're like, oh, great. Nothing good is going to come from this conversation, but
Yeah,
you have the teeth now where, you're helping cops right now, but boy, you could help them a lot earlier. If
right.
once they trust you and you got to earn it, then you're gonna be that guy. And I could totally see you doing that. So I really hope you do, and I wish you nothing but the best with that. But
Thank you.
how can people find out more about you and this incredible story of yours? Where can they go to contact you?
Yeah. So right now, I'm yeah, I get contacted just via email. So I just started working on my business, my LLC.
Yeah.
Actually, I think we mentioned that at the beginning. Steve Murphy, I had asked him a couple of questions regarding that. So my email address, and it might change, but it's mmz training and consulting at Gmail. I'm still working on the business and getting all that stuff taken care of, but that's my next project is the
Okay.
book. Getting the business down, but MMZ training and consulting. If anybody has at gmail.com, if anybody has any questions or has questions regarding inpatient, outpatient treatment facilities, retreats for law enforcement officers or their significant others, anything. You guys would like to have me come out and speak at a law enforcement engagement or conference. I've done private engagements. I've done agency events,
Yeah.
conferences, gang narcotic conferences. So whatever I could do to help, please feel free to shoot me an email and I'll get back to you.
Well, Mike, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me, and it's been a honor to finally meet you. I know we've been texting and emailing back and forth, and thank you for having me on. You're easy to talk to. Thank you.